Hey, folks, and welcome to Miyagi Mornings episode. What is it? 14? Yeah, 14. And you'll notice there's not a Miyagi pond behind me, and I am in my office, and there's a reason for that. It is cold outside, but it's not that cold. It's a time constraints issue. If this is going to happen today, it's going to happen this way. I'm way behind. Nicole Sauce is going to be on the Survival podcast today, talking about crowdfunding and doing it independently instead of through a third party like Kickstarter. So that's what we'll be doing on the show today. I just had a long conversation with Draith Cotta from the Pirate Chain Project, and that took up some time. And I got to edit all the stuff from the Unloose the Goose episode last night. So I'm just behind, and so I need to do it this way. So that's why we're sitting here at the desk instead of out by the Miyagi pond with the fish and the ducks and the chickens. So what I wanted to talk to you today about, and I'm going to try to do this keeping my commitment to you to not make Miyagi Mornings political, but is liberty. I've gotten a lot of questions. I asked for questions to be sent in for Miyagi Mornings, either in the comments here on online or through email is best. And I get a lot of questions about liberty one way or another. And big thing is, how do we take back our liberties? How do we understand the liberties we've lost? Those are the kind of two common threads. So this is what you need to understand about liberty. And this is why I don't do politics. You can't vote for liberty. I know you'd like to, and I know you'd like to believe that you can. You can't. You can't ask for liberty. You can't beg for liberty. You can't expect liberty to be handed to you by people who have power over you. Liberty comes from one source, and I know some of you are religious, so you'll say it's the Almighty or whatever. No. If you want to believe that your right to liberty comes from your creation, I agree with you. But God can't grant you liberty. Whatever your view of God is, God granted you what you have in front of you. God created all that is, including you, and now you're here. You want liberty? You have to take it. Liberty is claimed through action, not through words. Flowery words about liberty can inspire others to possibly take those actions, but they cannot grant liberty. Reading a document that says you have a liberty means absolutely nothing. You can understand it perfectly. You can be absolutely correct in your interpretation of a document that describes the liberty that you have, and your liberty does not come from that document. And it is not actually protected by that document in any way unless you're willing to exercise the liberty. And that will require risk. There's a guy in New York right now, he was just arrested because he decided, I'm not shutting my business down. So they pulled his liquor license. So he said, fine, I won't sell liquor. He opened his bar, he had select people in, he gave them free alcohol. They arrested him and fined him $50,000. 1,500 people showed up in the streets to protest it after he got out of jail. They arrested and fined his lawyer for being there to represent his client. And you know what his lawyer said? Go for it. Now, I'm not saying everybody should take a stand in that exact way. In fact, I don't think we should. I think if everybody takes the same stand, it's very easy for the state then to deal with that stand. Because you're dealing with a whack-a-mole game, but you're dealing with a game where all the moles pop up and stand for you, and you can individually whack them down the same way. What you need is us taking our liberty through being like the real whack-a-mole game, but millions of moles, right? Everywhere. And that means you do what you most want to do in your life while insulating yourself through strategic planning the best way you can so that you don't get whacked. Or if you do get whacked, you're kind of already going down the hole and it's a soft whack. And then you're up over here. And then you're up over there. And then maybe once in a while they touch you with it, but they don't get the points for it. Does that make sense? How do you take back your liberty? Start by taking back your privacy. I mentioned I was on the phone with Draith Cotta for quite a while today. Pirate Chain. Pirate Chain's had some bugs with their wallets and stuff. That's what we were talking about, how we can work that out. I'll be talking about that more in the Miyagi group for cryptocurrency today. It'll only be there, by the way. But I mean, you want to force for liberty? How about privacy? Well, what do you need privacy for? How about this? If you're using Bitcoin and you tell me to send Bitcoin to your address, and you keep all your money in that address, which is dumb, but if you do, or you just happen to have a lot of money in that address, once I know that address, I can look it up on the Block Explorer and see exactly how much you're holding there. If you're a business, Do you really want your customers able to do that? If you're a customer, do you really want the business you're dealing with able to do that, let alone the government? How about having a place where you can keep your money in a certain place and, like, where do I send it to? Send it to this address. Look it up. Good luck with that. Take your privacy. Take your privacy, your right to privacy, the right to the possession of your wealth back. Cryptocurrency is one way to do that. You want the right to eat good food? Grow it and buy it from people who produce it. Well, there's laws in my area that say, I don't care. What did I say about liberty? It must be seized. Go to your neighbor that has a great big yard and does a bunch of homesteading shit and say, hey, look, have you ever thought about raising pastured poultry? Get some people in the neighborhood together. Help that person out. Instead of them going into business as a farmer, why don't you guys go into business as a cooperative that's unofficial and do business privately, either with cash or silver or crypto or whatever, and then have that one place be used to produce enough chicken for 4 or 5 families and everybody help out. If you need to hire somebody to come in and do the processing because out of all that group nobody wants to do it, fine. Collectively pool the money, pay someone to come do the processing. Now you fill your freezer with good quality meat. And who did you ask permission from? No one. And I can keep going with examples, but that's what they're all going to end in. If you're exercising a liberty, you didn't ask permission to do it. And you need to figure out how that fits and where that fits and why that fits and when that fits into your life in what way that you don't get the giant hammer coming down hard enough to kill you or lock you in prison for a very long time. That's the world we live in. If you think that's political, let me explain something to you. You don't know what the fuck liberty is, okay? If you think that's political, you have given up on liberty. You don't know what the fuck liberty is, and you think you can have liberty by asking for it. You can't. You never will. You will never have liberty as long as you're relying on somebody else to let you have it. It won't be liberty. It'll be permission. With that, I'll be back tomorrow with the final episode of the week of Miyagi Mornings. Take care.